Should I do a YouTube niche that already has a lot of channels in it, or do something new? Is my niche too saturated? Is there any hope of breaking in? What is working now? Real talk here, I asked myself this the other day. Would I tell someone not to start a YouTube channel or not to continue in a YouTube channel in a niche that was highly saturated or had a lot of channels in it already? And my answer for myself was nope. In fact, I would tell you to do it anyway because of this. Howdy everyone, Nate here, welcome back. Let's pretend like we just went to our favorite cafe. I'd clear a spot on our table, pull out a stack of napkins that magically would appear, and furiously start scribbling. I'd also say I've had my eye on a few very interesting niches that you'll want to know about by the end of this conversation. And before you could say howdy, I would slide this napkin over to you. I've been seeing the playing field change on YouTube. It used to be more about finding the gap, the areas that weren't served on YouTube that you could then serve and say, hey, I'm gonna find the niches, the chinks, the areas that don't have a lot of content in them already, and I'm gonna go in there and fill it all in with my content. But then in a true act of cafe showmanship, I would take that napkin and crumple it and then toss it. Because I would say that doesn't work right now. This era of YouTube is different because now on YouTube, it's more about this. You'd be wondering, how the heck did he sketch that so fast? I'd say, I've been waiting to tell you this. People keep breaking into quote unquote difficult niches here on YouTube. And I've personally helped people and clients to do the same. At this point, we've got to look at YouTube this way. There are a lot of YouTube creators on this platform. And no matter what you or I choose to do, there are already going to be some pretty darn good players in that space. So it stands to reason that rather than thinking of it as I'm going to find the gaps with that crumpled napkin, wherever it went, rather than that, I'm going to make my own space on YouTube. This is what is happening on YouTube right now, and this is why you're watching this video. All right, you ready? Here is why making your own gap works on YouTube. First, YouTube always wants fresh content. So in any niche, taking a new fresh angle and a new unique spin on what is already there is going to have an advantage. Second, the amount of YouTube viewership is just going up. More and more people are joining the platform, both as creators, but also as viewers. And third, older creators retire. Older YouTube creators, and old on YouTube is not that old in the grand scheme of things, but older YouTube creators retire all the time, leaving attention voids. Essentially meaning that when someone stops publishing, there is a space for attention from viewership. Where that creator's audience used to spend their time, they now have time to go elsewhere. However, if we're being strategic, and yes we are because you're watching this video right now, we also need to look into, well, how do you actually make your own gap? It's like this. We do this by first assessing our capability, second, assessing the capacity for that content on YouTube, and third, bringing that unique approach to the platform so we can carve out our own space, which right now is blank because don't worry, I've got more napkins. And while we're discussing this at our local favorite cafe, I may or may not pull up my laptop or phone and say, hey, I'm gonna show you how I would do this using one of my current favorite tools. The first question we need to answer to assess our own capability is this. Oh wait, that doesn't even have the question written on it. Pretend like I wrote the question on the napkin, or maybe I pulled out a Sharpie and just wrote it on the table right here. What do you have an abnormal amount of experience with? I would list it out, like right now, as you're watching this video, make a list of things that you have an abnormal amount of experience with. And I don't care if you've done it before, now is a good time to do it again. Just do it. The next question I'd be asking you as I magically erase this Sharpie writing down here is this. What do you have an abnormal amount of interest in? The key word here is absolutely abnormal. There's passing interest, there's a, I'm mildly curious about that, and then there's obsessive interest. No, you don't have to be utterly and totally obsessed in order to be successful as you're assessing your capability of delivering in this niche. But does it help to capitalize on it or bump up your current interest in that niche? Yes, it does. Think about it this way. Have you ever watched someone who was genuinely interested and excited about what they were doing and just thought, wow, that person is interesting to watch, or wow, I'm not really into that topic, but they're so into it, I can't stop watching? I know you know what I'm talking about here, and that is what I'm talking about here as we're assessing our capability. What I want you to do with this is, again, make a list of it. Write down the things that you have an abnormal amount of interest in. And once you've done that, it's time for the next napkin, because there seems to be a limitless number of napkins at this restaurant. Either that or we're gonna use their entire stock. Next, it's time to do something that many people overlook, and that is assessing the capacity for that niche that you're thinking about doing or that you're currently doing on YouTube. In order to do that, I'd say, hey, watch this. I'm gonna show you something cool. I'd say, heck yeah, I sketched this while you were sipping your fizzy beverage of choice. Let me pull up Velio for you, because this is one of my favorite ways both to generate and assess the capacity for an idea or a series of ideas, which would be a niche, on YouTube. If you have Velio or you need Velio, go ahead and use the link in the pinned comment, and I'm gonna show you how I would go about doing this. Let's say you want to start or build a channel in a very competitive space. Let's say it's the financial space. The old way to go about doing this is go to YouTube and search a variety of things like how to make money, how to do side hustles, etc. Now, in the past, when I personally was validating idea, I would go first to videos or shorts, and I would go down here and I would say, what's most popular? And scroll through here and see, okay, these are the highest viewed ones, but they're all published 5 years ago, 2 years ago. Oh, this one's more recent. That's good. And I can do that, and it absolutely helps. However, I wouldn't be showing you Velio if I didn't think the darn thing made things way, way easier. You see, what I can do is hit Save Channel and save it directly into my Velio. Here's an example, a client I'm working with. We're playing in the big leagues in the financial space, but when you save a channel here, what you can then do is quickly see these standout concepts. On this one, for example, I've pulled up Graham Stephan's channel. I added some filters of videos that were published in the last 365 days, meaning the last year, because they're fresh. And then you want to sort by the outlier score, the ones with the biggest outlier to the smallest outlier, which I've already sorted right here so you can see it. So now what do I know? This is an assessment with just a single channel. We're picking on Graham Stephan here. I know of all of the videos published on Graham's channel in the past year, which one stood out the most versus the standard videos on that channel. I also see some very interesting things that I might not have picked up on if I wasn't able to filter videos this way. Look at this. Out of the top 9 videos published within the last year on Graham's channel, 5 of them have the same or virtually the same background for the thumbnail. There's something about this format of thumbnail that is working very well for Graham. These are the things that are not only within our niche that we're thinking about playing in or we are currently playing in, but they are above it. They're the standout concepts in that niche. So that's if I'm looking at an individual YouTube channel. What if I want a conglomerate of several channels? Well, for this, in discussions with my client, we pulled together a few example channels that we're potentially looking to take hints from. I can keep all the other filters the same, but of these 6 channels that I pulled out, I can remove Graham Stephan as the only filter. And now what we get is this. And as you're following along with Velio, I want you to do the same thing. Go ahead to several channels and hit the Save Channel button. Or if you're on mobile, Velio just released mobile apps that you can do this same thing. You can hit share and then save it to your Velio. Or if you want to drill down even further, what I recommend doing is saving individual videos into Velio, which I have right here. I use this for another client. We started saving videos that stood out in the influence and business growth space. You're also able to create and manage tags, like I added the ridiculous but notable tag here. I don't think any of these got that tag because they weren't ridiculous enough. But if I say, hey, I want to validate a bunch of ideas for their thumbnail, so of the saved videos in this folder, I thought that these thumbnails were notable such that I added the tag to them. Hey, would you look at that? I found the missing napkins, the ones with the questions that I had to write on the table. I mean, I definitely sketched these napkins just now, because I didn't pre-sketch these napkins knowing you were going to ask me these questions. So bringing it back here to making your own gap on YouTube, we've assessed ourselves and we've also assessed the capacity on YouTube. What's next? Next is this. I would surreptitiously slide you this napkin and say, if you're enjoying this conversation in our friendly neighborhood local cafe, go ahead and boop the like button. Yeah. And then without acknowledging anything at all odd had happened, I would move that napkin away and slide you another napkin. Because this is what we're doing now. We're bringing our unique approach together and publishing. And in order to do that, there are 2 considerations you want to keep in mind. How often do you want to publish and how urgent do you want that publishing to be? Because when you're considering the niche that you want to select on YouTube, some, just by their nature, have a more urgent aspect to them, if it's more news or current events type of content. The other deciding factor here is, what do you want your revenue to look like? There are three primary ways that I see creators or YouTube channels making revenue. And depending on what niche you choose and how you approach that niche, you'll probably lead with one of these. If you're going primarily for eyeballs for your revenue, no, you're not stealing people's eyeballs. Please don't do that. What I'm talking about is eyeballs on your content. As much spread as possible, with your primary goal being wide viewership leading to more partner revenue and higher sponsor rates. If you're going primarily for consumers, you don't necessarily have to go the widest possible that you possibly can. You can be a bit more niche, as the saying goes, and focus more on offering things like products and affiliates. And those products can be digital, but oftentimes they're consumables or physical products. And if you're heading the student's route, you can even be more niche, because many times if people are looking to learn something, they're further down the rabbit hole, so to speak, and they're willing to pay for additional training, implementation, or help from you. Now, with that in mind, it is time to finally answer what I alluded to earlier in this video. I have been observing certain areas of YouTube that, even though I said you don't have to find gaps, these are areas that I think are pretty golden this year. The principle holds here: even if I don't mention a niche, you can still make your own gap, as we've been talking about thus far in this video. First YouTube niche idea: inaccessible situations. The fewer people that can access what you have access to, the better. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me show you an example. This channel, Jacob Knowles, is an example of an inaccessible niche that you can take hints from as you're choosing your own. You can see most of these recent YouTube shorts, as an example, are catching lobsters with various ailments, various issues, and then usually throwing them back into the water after the issue has been resolved. Do you live on a houseboat? Do you have a certain profession that only 0.001% of people have? That's the kind of thing I'm looking for here. I mean, heck, if you do roofing and you record yourself while you were doing roofing, doing it safely, hopefully, then that's something that most people don't do. And the more exotic or interesting or remote the home is, the more interesting the video idea is. Next YouTube niche idea I would be seriously considering this year. And this piggybacks very well on the inaccessible things. If you have the capability of taking something that is normal for people and making it just that extra interesting thing for them. I'll give you an example. This channel, Steve the Vivaldi Way, they've absolutely exploded on YouTube Shorts. You can see they only have 42 videos and over 300,000 subscribers. This is happening right now. This is recent. And all that this guy does is record himself creating the recipes from the restaurant, exactly how he would create them for a customer. But here's where the magic comes in, and this is where I would push these aside and put these two back up as a reminder. With this channel, assessing their capability and what they're bringing unique to the channel, this guy doesn't try to be super professional. In fact, he's very casual and approachable, and there's something about his energy. I challenge you, just go read the comments on all of these YouTube shorts. Almost everybody watching these shorts thinks, I don't know why this is, but I just feel like this guy's my friend. Next YouTube niche I would be considering this year. You recall me earlier talking about how interested you are in something. If you ratchet that up, it inherently makes you interesting to watch. If you take that, combined with a traditionally boring topic, you blow people's frickin' minds. Things like accounting, obscure movies and culture, or products that were never released, or why one grocery store is super efficient and the other is terrible. People may not be interested in the topic itself, but they will watch someone who is interested in it. Next YouTube niche that I see on the rise is the mental health space. With some caveats here, because if you're giving medical advice, first of all, you need to be certified, or you need to let people know, hey, I am not certified in this, but this is my experience. People today, this year more than ever, are appreciating authenticity and talking about the things that they're struggling with. So for the mental health space, whether you take it directly on, like I'm going to make a whole channel about mental health, or I'm going to make it an aspect of my gaming channel or my other topic channel, there's a lot of capacity there, and I only see it going up. Now, you remember I mentioned that video earlier where we were talking about how often to publish and the timing of your publishing, and I alluded to picking the right video length that fits your audience expectations. Well, I may or may not have one more napkin to slide your way, and it looks like this.